Welcome to another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Today, my guest is Ramesh Songukrishnasamy. Quite the mouthful. And we're here to explore how communication gaps, not technical gaps, slow down projects, derail decisions, and limit career growth for technical professionals. As a transformational leader who has driven many technological transformations, built high performing teams, and delivered millions in new product revenue, he'll share what communication behaviors signal readiness for greater responsibility and what technical professionals often misunderstand about non technical audiences. And we'll also dig into what organizations can do to help their technical staff communicate more clearly and the first step individuals can take to improve their speaking skills. Welcome to Teach the Geek interviews, Ramesh.
Thank you, Neil. Thanks for having me.
So, from your seat as a CTO, how often do communication gaps, not technical gaps, slow down projects or decisions?
Well, that happens more often than one would like to see because it happens at various levels, right? So, when you are starting your career, as an individual contributor or an engineer, you are pretty much trying to get the instruction from somebody and then you execute what they are asking you to do. I mean, develop a code or do a testing or design or whatnot, right? So and you are in a best spot because you are really bringing your technical capabilities and then do exactly what you are meant to do. But then as you grow up in your career, you start not only receiving instructions, you also pass on instructions to your team. I mean, as a team lead, let's say, you receive like a design objective and then you translate that into multiple goals or multiple activities to the rest of your team. And there is where the communication starts, or the gaps of communication start showing up. Because now your performance, what you are delivering, is not just depending on what you can do on your own, but how well you translate what you received as a technical requirement into tasks and then engaging with the rest of the team and making sure that they all deliver something that is aligned with the overall objective. And then it gets even more complex as you grow up further in your career because at some point you are not no more receiving technical requirements. You are actually figuring it out because you are working with cross-functional teams, your customer teams, your sales team, your business teams, and you are trying to figure out together what problems are we going to solve? What is the priority for the company and things like that. And there, the communication challenges or any gaps would show up even in a big time because that would completely uh, derail the company's strategy or execution of the strategy. So that's that. I mean, so it happens at multiple levels, and we see that I mean, all the time.
So, if you are an individual contributor as a technical professional and you're struggling to communicate with non-technical audiences, what do you think are the downstream consequences for the business?
Because then you end up in you know solutions or products that is not really what customer needs or business needs, right? So that's more likely to result in a lot of rework if you have to correct what you have to done, or if it actually reaches the market, then you actually miss the opportunities, a lot of missed opportunities, because that's when we often see products that are launched into the market do not produce the business outcome that were expected out of that because somehow the product didn't capture the customer problems or trying to address the customer problems that were important for the customers. So that's the big downside of that.
Yeah, Ramesh, I remember when I first started working as an engineer, I didn't have to speak all that much in front of other people, and I didn't mind that arrangement. It wasn't until I started a second job as a project development engineer and eventually a project lead that I had to speak in front of management on a weekly basis. and on project status. And those first few presentations I gave were terrible. There's no other way to really to label them. And I knew they weren't all that great because I was getting a whole lot of questions afterwards that I thought I had answered during the presentation. So,
Mhm.
so the fact that I was getting all these questions now, and if I wasn't nervous during the presentation, I certainly was after it. And just looking back on it now, my project ended up getting canceled after a few of those presentations. And this
Mhm.
happened, 15 plus years ago. And I still look back on that and I think, man, perhaps if I was better at just communicating the usefulness of this project to the business and not just thinking about the technical aspects of it since I was working as a product development engineer, who knows? Maybe that company could have a product out there right now making millions of dollars, but I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, Neil, actually, you brought up a very good point, because we only so far we're talking about, okay, the communication from customers or business to the team, the development team, right? But it also, reverse is also is very important because let's say, as an individual contributor or a technical lead, you have some cool ideas, you have some creative way to, you know, solve a technical problem until unless you are able to translate that into non-technical terms or the business terms or in using the language that the customer would use, it's not going to produce the benefit that you think would produce, right? So I've seen so many times, engineers, bright engineers, really good in what they are doing. They have some very innovative ideas, technical ideas. But then where it fails is, it's like a hammer looking for a nail, right? So it's a wonderful solution. We just don't know where the problem is. So I often tell those engineers, so those architects, like, okay, start with who the customers are, right? I mean, what problem are we trying to solve for those customers? These customers could be external customers, like really the ones that are using our products or services, or it could be an internal stakeholders. It could be an internal business problem that you are trying to solve. What problem are we trying to solve? And then what is the solution that you are offering? I mean, how is this solution is going to solve that problem? Think purely from a problem perspective, not from technical solutions, the jargons and all of that. And then more importantly, you need to highlight how is this solution is better than the next best alternative, meaning what is that they are doing today and how are they solving the current this problem today, and how is this solution better than the next best alternative. I mean, that way you are able to translate a technical idea, a concept, or a technical solution into a value creation activity. And value creation is something that anybody can associate with. Okay, if I don't have to stand in the line for 10 minutes to get this, thing done, or, pass through the security, if I can save 10 minutes out of it, that's a value to me. So instead of talking about, oh, you can do this technology, that technology, and all of that, talk in terms of the business problem, the customer problem, the solutions, the value creation. That's what I encourage my team to do it.
Yeah. Ramesh, I think a lot of times as technical people, we just assume that what we think is interesting, other people will find interesting as well. And
Right.
we then ultimately recognize when things aren't really going our way, then no, no. People from outside of our groups, they have their own interests, and we have to appeal to those interests if we want whatever we want to get done. And I think a lot of us we come to that eventually, but it takes some time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then the thing is, I mean, those who are interested in, let's say, pursuing roles beyond the technical, like an individual contributor type, are the one who really excel in this area, able to connect with the non-technical people. So, I mean, I'm not saying, okay, if you cannot translate it, there is no growth opportunity or something. But as if you want to grow, that's one of the very important skill sets. And like any other skill, communication is something you can learn. You just need to put necessary, focus and effort into it. There are so many tools available these days, and if you can put that focus, put that effort, anybody can get really good at communicating.
Yep, I fully agree with you, and it was something I definitely had to come to eventually working as an engineer, and just not wanting to be that technical person who was disgruntled because someone else got an opportunity that I thought I deserved. But a lot of times, I think we just think that our technical work will speak for itself too, and that's
Hmm.
just not the case. Typically, the people who are offered those opportunities are the people who are visible, and the people who are visible tend to be the ones who are the better communicators.
That's very true. Very true. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm curious then. So when it comes to you evaluating technical staff for greater responsibility, what communication behaviors tell you that they're ready to take on those responsibilities?
Okay, I look at it in a couple of different aspects. One, how this person is able to take a complex problem and able to break that into simpler, manageable chunks of tasks or work, and like sub goals or sub activities, because that's very important when you are bringing somebody at a leadership level, because often at the leadership level you are not going to say, oh yeah, let's go and implement this feature. That's not the kind of engagement or a conversation you are going to have. You're going to talk in terms of, okay, let's see how we can increase the performance by 20% or reduce the cost by 15%, because those are the kind of engagement or conversation that you would have. So when you want to have somebody who can understand on one side these kind of big uh, objectives, and then able to translate, okay, if I have to reduce the cost by 10%. Let me look at which of these 10 activities are going to consume more cost or more resources, and how can I optimize those steps or activities or you know business processes, whatever you are dealing with it, and then able to figure out, okay, we can automate this, we can eliminate this step, we can use this technology to do these things without manual intervention and things like that. So that's one aspect. So how to take very complex or higher level goals or business objectives into technical uh, activities, if you will.
Yeah.
Second,
Well, go ahead.
yeah, just one more aspect of the thing that I look at is, how are you going to engage with your peers, your cross-functional teams? It could be, your peers could be another technical leader within the organization, or it could be a non-technical leader, a leader from a business, or a leader from a sales, or a marketing, function, or an operations function. So because that's very important, that dynamics, that cross functional engagement dynamics to me, can make or break a big breakthrough innovation that you are trying to accomplish. Otherwise you can have a fantastic technical solution that can never see the daylight, right? Because you haven't really brought everybody else on board with this change, because any change requires everybody's alignment to take it forward. So those are the two things I look at it. Neil.
When you were speaking, Ramesh, it reminded me of something I said earlier about technical people just assuming that whatever they say, others will understand. And what's so interesting is that those technical people didn't always understand what they now understand. It's like
Yeah,
and I think that's something that a lot of us don't recognize in the moment. Is that
yeah,
we weren't always technical people. I mean, a lot of us, we went to school and studied something technical, and then we get these technical roles and we're working these roles, and we just assume that whatever we know, we always knew, but we didn't always know. And the people that we're speaking to, especially if they're non-technical, well, why would you assume that they know what you know? Because they didn't go through the same background. They don't have the same background as you. They don't have the same technical role. They likely didn't get those technical degrees. So why would you just assume that you can hit them with all this technical jargon and they'll just naturally understand it? And and I just think that a lot of us we don't think about that at all. When we were not that technical person, what kind of communication would have worked with us? And I think a lot of us need to go back to that person because
exactly.
likely it wasn't that long ago. I guess that depends on how old you are. But as I said, when you were that non-technical person, what could you have understood then? And just think, well, these non-technical people that I'm speaking to now, they're me back then.
Very true, very true. I mean, I think it actually goes back to one of the fundamentals of communication. That's really about knowing whom you are talking to and understanding what language they speak, meaning language in sense, not, from a language perspective. I'm saying understanding the lingo, the terminologies, the meaning they associate to certain words, right? So I mean, once you spend enough time to understand other person's way or problems and the lingos, then you are better equipped to communicate that. As you said, at the end of the day, this is we are talking about some kind of an interpersonal problem, even though some communications are not delivered in person nowadays, with emails and Zoom calls like this are getting a lot more integral part of the way of working. There is an element of that interpersonal connectivity in every dimension of communication, and that's really what one has to constantly look at it, right? So as a technical person, your responsibility is not just trying to do the technical work and then expecting or hoping that people will understand eventually. Your role is doing the technical work at the same time and helping others, the non-technical folks, understand the value of what you have done. Value in the sense, again, going back to what I mentioned earlier, what customer problem are we trying to solve? What is the solution? How is this solution better than the next best alternative? That value, you need to translate your technical solution into that value creation. Then you are able to connect with others in a more effective manner.
Absolutely. What do you think organizations can do to help their technical staff improve their speaking skills?
Yeah, I think it is important as a part of talent development program that organizations invest in strengthening the communications skills of the technical folks. And it's also needed because often, now we have, when we work in a global setup. So in a global setup, the communication skills becomes even more important because apart from just communicating the value aspect of it that we have been talking about, there is also the cultural aspect of it, the language aspect of it. So it's very, very important for the organizations to maximize their resources, their teams across the globe, that they invest in the communication skills development.
Yeah. When it comes to your own journey in speaking and communicating, Ramesh, is that something you've always been good at? And if not, what did you do to get better at it?
I mean, I grew up in India. We don't speak, I mean, English is not our uh, native language, right? So, always I've been conscious about spending time and an effort and learning and strengthening my communication skills. And I also had a great opportunity and privilege to work with global teams, working with my peers in the US, in Europe. So I had an opportunity to get exposure to a broad set of people with whom I had the opportunity to engage and learn and strengthen my communication skills, because it's not just the language aspect of it, right? It's also understanding the cultural nuances and then understanding the interpersonal aspect of it. So I was conscious about it. I put a lot of effort throughout my career, and even now I would say every day I'm still learning about how do we engage with others in solving complex problems, in managing some crises and things like that. So there is never an end to it. You can never say I'm done, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Practice makes progress, that's for sure. There's no such thing as perfection. We're all kind of always on this road trying to get to a destination, and yeah, I fully agree with what you're saying. Ramesh, when it comes to speaking, do you ever get nervous? And if so, how do you deal with your nerves?
Well, Someone told me very long time ago, when you are speaking to a large audience in a setup, you try to identify few people or one or two people with whom you try to establish an eye contact and then get comfortable with it. It's really what makes you nervous is this unknown of, okay, I'm being scrutinized here, right? But that's really not true. People are there, sitting there in front of you because they think that you are going to share something useful, to something that they don't know about or something that they can learn about. So when you can position yourself that, okay, I'm here to share what I have, I'm not here to show that, okay, I'm the best, then you kind of cool down, you put yourself in a less nervous situation, and then just establish contact, eye contact. And then once you establish like two, three people's eye contact, then all of a sudden you get more grounded, you are more natural, and then speak in a very natural way. You don't try to I never try to emulate somebody, right? So I try to position myself, present myself as I am, because that's the best part that I have, right? So if you try, because often people look at some interesting videos, personalities, and then they try to emulate, and that's when things go wrong, right? So you try to present yourself authentically and who you are, and that's it. You go from there. And it's okay to, I mean, if you don't remember certain points, or if you don't articulate certain things in a way, it's okay. You just don't sit and overthink it. You just move on and then go with the flow, and then eventually you will catch up with all the key points that you wanted to deliver.
Yeah, I mean, a carbon copy is never as good as the original anyway.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to just be yourself when you're giving a presentation. And your point on eye contact is an interesting one too. It's definitely something that I've struggled with in giving presentations. I was a member of Toastmasters for a number of years, and they
Uh-huh.
say that in Toastmasters you should look someone in the eye for 3 seconds before moving on to the next person. You have no idea how long 3 seconds is until you look someone in the eye for 3 seconds, Ramesh. It feels
Yeah.
like an eternity. So what I ended up doing is I knew it was distracting to me, so I would look at their eyebrows instead. And it really helped because it wasn't as distracting. It gives us the appearance that you're looking at their eyes anyway, and so they're more willing to look at you because a lot of times if you're not looking at the audience, they're not looking at you, and they're doing other things as opposed to listening to what you have to say. So for those of you all that are listening or watching, and perhaps you get distracted looking at eyeballs instead, eyebrows work pretty well.
Very good.
Wonderful. So I'm curious now, for the people who are listening or watching our conversation, Ramesh, and they're technical people, they see the benefit of improving their communication skills. What's the number one thing that they should start working on right now?
I think, first of all, I would say reflect on what exactly the communication challenge that you are trying to overcome with. Is it the language part of it, or is it the interpersonal part of it, or is it being really be more effective? When I say effective, you have a very short engagement, whether it's an in-person engagement or a presentation, and you wanted to, be impactful in that engagement and get things done. What is that you are trying to accomplish? In what aspect of communication you are trying to strengthen? I think if you can understand that, then there are plenty of tools for anyone to address those specific problems. So, and then second thing is, I think it's communication is something very natural for all of us. I mean, as a human being, that's how we evolved. I mean, that's one of the big thing that has happened throughout the evolution, that we are able to communicate express our thoughts, our feelings, and get work done, right? So it's very natural. You need to believe in that, and then you just go with the flow. You just try, and then find a good buddy with whom you can practice. If you are really challenged about, let's say, public speaking, find a buddy I mean, I think the Toastmaster example that you said, Neil, is a fantastic thing. Find a group like that, get engaged, and then practice. There is enough opportunities available in these days. There's plenty of tools. So I would say just understand a little bit more into what specific aspect of communication that you are trying to improve, and then there are tools for each of those things.
Wonderful. This has been a wonderful conversation, Ramesh. Thanks for being a guest. How can people get in touch with you?
Sure. I mean, my profile is available in LinkedIn, so people can reach out to me via LinkedIn. I'm not active in other social media, but LinkedIn is a good way for anyone to connect with me, and more than happy to help mentor anyone who needs to improve in this area.
Wonderful. Well, everyone, that marks the end of another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Until next time, take care and stay safe. Thanks, Ramesh.
Thank you, Neil. Have a